Now, obviously, you're filming this season virtually with everything going on. How are you and Travis sort of able to navigate that? Does it ruin any of the integrity of what you had in season one, or how are you shaping that?
Yeah, we thought it would, honestly. When we were told we were going to do a virtual version of the show, we thought, how does this work? Because part of the show is being able to travel to the location, going to the scene of the crime, you know, the best way I can describe it, and really connecting with that person and getting an understanding of what that relationship was and how it got to that place and why they either fell in love or became best friends or whatever it may be. And that really helps us kind of find the clues that we need to investigate this case. But then when it comes to virtually, you realize you can pretty much do anything from home. And so it hasn't stopped the investigations that Travis and I are able to do because of the technology we use to find the ghost at the end of the day. And still, like, this is intimate. Girl, I feel like I'm in the room with you right now.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Absolutely. That's why therapy can still happen over Zoom, because it's intimate.
I do therapy over Zoom. And so we're still able to connect because you have this one-on-one time, or two-on-one, Travis and I, time with the person. And so it really hasn't stopped at all.
I'm hesitant to ask this because I really hope you're going to say no here, but have you ever been ghosted? I can't imagine someone ghosting you, but have you been ghosted?
I have. And it was when it wasn't a term. It wasn't a thing. So you're talking like over a decade ago.
Wow.
And I was dating this guy off and on for 4 years. And one day, and I talked to him every day. And one day I called him and I get, the number you've reached is no longer in service.
Stop.
Maybe I was like, maybe I'm just like in a bad place. Let me try again. I called maybe 10, 12 more times, nothing. And it wasn't until 2 years later that I ran into him and I found out, one, that he was okay, and two, why he ghosted me. And he ghosted me because he had a child and he wanted that family unit and he didn't know how to break away from me. He didn't know how to leave me alone. So he just disappeared, changed his number, which when I look back on it, I'm like, we were so toxic for each other.
Right.
In hindsight, yeah, it was the best thing that you could do. But at the time it was devastating. I didn't have a real relationship for 2 years.
And sometimes it's just a matter of getting that closure. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you were sitting there ruminating about it, but just kind of knowing where he was coming from makes it a lot less internal, like I did something wrong or I'm not worthy of this. I feel like you're bringing people a lot of closure, which is what people need in relationships.
Yes, yes.
Well, aside from hosting MTV's Ghosted, girl, you do everything. You also host Higher Learning, a podcast that discusses topics in Black culture, politics, and sports. It's so important. It's great. We all love it here. Had you always planned to do a podcast sort of around these topics, or did the current climate kind of encourage you more than you ever would have been encouraged before?
It's interesting because a lot of people do think we started the podcast in response to what was happening in the country.
Sure.
And we had been talking about it. We had been working on it. So it's almost as if it was very meant to be. We knew we wanted to cover Black culture. We knew we wanted to talk politics, current affairs, sports, and entertainment. But then with what happened, I mean, our podcast literally came out a week before George Floyd. And so it was people started to us to break down, the importance of the protest and what this means and just kind of giving people a history of it. And it's really been a great thing. It's been therapeutic. It's been very freeing. I feel very much myself podcasting, and I'm grateful for it because it's something that has selfishly gotten me through quarantine, but I see it also helping so many other people. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I find that it's a really good way to be so vulnerable with people. You're right in their ear in a different way that maybe you can't get with this. Plus you can wear sweatpants and podcast at the same time, which is the most important thing, as we know. Your co-host Van Lathan seems very excited to get into the Bachelorette and Bachelor, as we all are. Are you excited for him?
I'm scared. He thinks he knows, but he has no idea. And when he's into something, he goes all in. Like, that's the beauty of Van. He's very passionate about whatever it is that he's doing. So he calls himself a batchie now. He hasn't seen one episode. So the fact that it's coming up in October, and now I'm thinking, okay, he's going to want to watch it together. He's going to want to talk.
You're like, no, oh Lord.
It's like, be careful what you ask for at this point. But I'm excited because we will definitely have a segment that is dedicated to his opinions about The Bachelor.
I mean, he's seen your season, right?
No, he has not. The only thing he knows about my season is that I was engaged to Brian. He recently just found out about Fantasy Suites, which now he's upset that he himself participated in The Bachelor.
Well, that's good. You know, Bachelor, Bachelorette, it's only a new show on TV. You know, give him a few years to catch up. And we got to get him on reality check while he's watching The Bachelor. So make sure to tell him, because I got to get his real-time thoughts. Are you personally looking forward to this season of The Bachelorette? I mean, what are your thoughts on the Claire transitioning over to Tayshia switch up this season? Because I wanted Tayshia all along, so I'm pretty happy with it.
And I think a lot of people, you know, everyone was supporting Claire, and I'm very excited for Claire's season. And I know the show nor the network have confirmed that Tayshia is a Bachelorette as well. So I have to speak in the terms of, like, this is rumored, you know, that she's the next Bachelorette. But I'm obviously excited. You know, I've always been a voice for inclusion and diversity in the franchise. So for Tayshia to be Latina and Black and to represent multiple communities, I'm very excited that if she's the Bachelorette, like, what that's going to do. I'm still supporting my girl Claire as well.
Of course.
And I do have to say, though, seeing the new Bachelor promo and seeing Chris Harrison look at Claire in a way I've never seen before and say, congratulations, you just blew up the Bachelorette. Who's not hooked?
It's going to be the most dramatic season ever.
It's like, what does that mean, Chris? What does that mean? Tell us more.
Give us everything we wanted. Well, good. I'm glad to see you're just as excited as I am. And yet another project you have. You're a co-host for the Bachelor Happy Hour, which is one of my favorites. You know, do you ever get overwhelmed by all your projects? You know, how do you find the balance between, you know, talking about reality and Bachelor, Bachelorette, but also these serious topics of Black Lives Matter and qualified immunity? I mean, how do you handle it?
You don't. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I'm able to balance it all. It is overwhelming at times. I just recently moved to LA, and I'm back and forth now between LA and Miami, and the move plus everything else and learning a new job and being full-time has been extremely overwhelming for me, just to be honest. But I think for me, I love everything that I'm doing. Right. And so that's what keeps me going. I couldn't just talk about Bachelor all day. I would go crazy.
That makes one of us on this Zoom here.
I would lose my mind. And I think that when I balance that out with other passions that I have, like politics and current affairs and what's happening, and then getting to express that on a higher learning, but then getting to cover all of those things with extra. And like, I mean, one of my first interviews as a full-time correspondent was interviewing Donald Trump Jr. And I was able to challenge him and push back. And so I everything that I'm doing is connected, and it's all something that I'm passionate about. Like, Bachelor changed my life. So I will forever be indebted to them and will always have, you know, a foot, maybe a toe these days in the franchise. Just a little
tip of the toe, just a little tip of the toe. I gotta ask, you know, what are your thoughts on your co-host Becca Kufrin split with Garrett, just amidst their differences in political views? I mean, even when they got together, we knew that he had a little bit of a differing opinion than Becca. And can you tell us how she's doing?
She said recently on our podcast that she feels magical being in LA and she doesn't understand what took her so long to get there.
Well, that's positive.
I could point to some things that might have been the case, but I think right now Becca is in a place where she is taking care of herself, loving herself, being a little selfish, and trying to figure things out for Becca. And I think it's beautiful as a friend to watch her do that. We're both in LA, so we'll both be supporting each other, and you know, we'll be hanging out, and I'll be, you know, giving her some love. And I just think I'm excited to see what she does next. I think that she was held back, and now we're really going to get to see her do her thing.
Well, once she is ready to mingle, as they say, are you and Brian going to hook her up with anyone? Like, do you have any like potential contenders that you'd like her to date?
Yes, I do. I will not name them, but I am also know that I'm never going to force or rush her, because it really, especially when you commit to someone for that long,
Right.
and to that level, you really need, the best thing you could do is to be by yourself and figure things out for yourself and what you need and want, so you don't make the same mistakes that you did before. You learn from them.
I mean, that's true of any breakup, let alone a breakup in front of millions of people.
Exactly.
As well.
And I think, and can I just say, what I hate so much is that people are blaming Becca or even me. I get every day someone, at least once a day, someone blames me for breaking up Becca and Garrett. And it's like, they're both true grown people. Like, can we just be real for a second? You think me saying one statement or dedicating a podcast to an issue is the reason they broke up, then you're not giving these people enough credit. But what I hate is to see fingers pointed towards Becca. Like, let's just don't blame Garrett or Becca. Let's just realize that they made a decision for themselves and what's best for them, and we have to respect that. Don't blame anyone. No one knows, not even myself, what went down in that relationship and why they decided to pull the plug on it.
And it's kind of odd to me that people are so quick to do that, only because 99.9% of relationships fail. Like, most relationships don't end up working out. It's very rare that you end up with like your middle school, high school sweetheart. So
exactly,
there's differences that happen, and people need to be, a little bit more accommodating of other people. Speaking of you moving to LA, is that a full-time complete move? Is Brian there as well, or is he kind of back in Miami? And how are the two of you doing?
We're both going to have to go back and forth, because with the extra job that came about, like, my work is here.
Right.
Some work I can do from a distance, but it's mostly here. And then his work is in Miami. So, we'll have to both switch off going back and forth until we figure this thing out. But other than that, we're good. We miss each other a lot. But one of the things that's great about our relationship is it's ours. We get it. We know what we're doing. Even if other people can't understand it, and we both have big time respect for one another and what the other is trying to do and accomplish, and how we're trying to build our family.
That is so important. Mutual respect, honesty, and communication. Rachel, thank you for all of those things and being here with me today. I love you. I love everything you do, and I can't wait to see more of you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to talk to you.
People, you can watch new episodes of MTV's Ghosted Love Gone Missing every Wednesday at 9, 8 Central.